My name is Darren Coates. My country was Italy, and I was in charge of graphics.
I'm Connor Gardner. I did Croatia, and I was in charge of the team logo.
I'm Mitch Kirkpatrick. I was in charge of Hungary, and I did all the references.
I'm Lucas Hill. I was in charge of Spain and also in charge of doing the poster layout.
I'm Eric Chapman, and I was in charge of Portugal, as well as doing the proposal report and leadership.
Italy is in Europe. It's got a total area of 301,000 square kilometers, a population of approximately 60 million people. Primary industries in Italy are tourism, machinery, iron and steel, chemicals, food processing, textiles, motor vehicles, clothing, footwear, and ceramics. Italy generates and distributes power at 50 hertz. Common household voltage you would find would be 220 volts AC. In industry, you will see usually about 400 volts AC three-phase power. For power generation, Italy uses primarily natural gas as their prime mover source at a 66%. Their fossil fuels like coal and oil make up another 22%. Renewable energies make up 18.5%. Italy transmits voltage at high levels, 380 kilovolts, 220 kilovolts, and 150 kilovolts. In 2013, Italy's electricity demand was 346.2 terawatt hours and has an installed capacity of 50,000 megawatts. Italy is currently working on 8 nuclear power generation plants. They've not had nuclear plants since the 1980s. They shut down their plants after the Chernobyl disaster. Their plan is to have 25% nuclear, 25% renewable, and 50% fossil fuel generation by 2020.
Moving on to Croatia. The population of Croatia in 2012 was 4.4 million. The country is 87,700 square kilometers. Key industries in Croatia include textiles, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, and petrochemicals. Wall outlets in Croatia are 220 to 240 volts at 50 hertz. And electricity in the country is transmitted and distributed on a network of 400 kV, 220 kV, and 110 kV lines, connected via 5 400 kV substations, 6 220 kV substations, and 114 110 kV substations. The electricity production by fuel source type is hydroelectric at 54.7%, coal at 17.1%, natural gas at 13.05%, oil and products at 13.1%, wind at 0.29%, and biomass at 0.07%. In addition, 50% of the capacity of the Slovenian Krško nuclear power plant is available to Croatia as a joint partners in the project, totaling 338 megawatts. 210 megawatts is also available from the privately owned Plomin 2 thermal power plant. Currently installed power capacity is 13.27 terawatt hours and 3,654 megawatts. Major generation construction projects in progress include the TPP Plomin C. Its installed capacity is 500 megawatts. Anticipated annual production is 3,600 gigawatt hours, and the investment value exceeds 800 million euros. Planned project is the Tito Osijek. Its installed capacity is 500 megawatts, and the anticipated annual production is 3,600 gigawatt hours, and so far it's planned to be about 350 million euros. They're also researching wind, solar, and geothermal energy sources in Croatia.
Population of Hungary is approximately 9.9 million, with a population density of 279 citizens per square mile. The main industries in Hungary are the automotive sector, electronics, pharmaceuticals, and medical technology, ICT, and the food industry. The different voltage levels you see in Hungary are the residential power at 220 volts at 50 hertz, and the three-phase industrial power at 380 volts. The Hungarian power grid is supplied by coal, oil, natural gas, nuclear, hydroelectric, and some imported energy from other countries. Coal makes up 24%, oil and natural gas make up 28%, nuclear makes up 37%, hydroelectric makes 1.8%, and total imported power is 8.9%. This entire system produces 34.4 terawatt hours annually. The future projects that Hungary strive for are 2 new nuclear reactors to be built and operational by 2025 and 2023, along with upgrading aging plants and transferring coal plants to natural gas power plants and continuing to keep up to demand of the population.
Moving on to Spain, their population is 46 million. The major industries of Spain are manufacturing, textiles, apparel, chemicals, ships, automobiles, machine tools. The common voltage level for Spain is 220 volts and frequency is 50 hertz. The plugs they use are C and F type. Spain currently has installed for prime mover energy is 61.4 billion kilowatts. 21% of this is from nuclear power, 25% from gas, 19% from coal, 16.5% from wind, 8.1% from hydro, 4% from solar. Spain has set a goal of generating 92% of its energy requirements from renewable energy sources. Spain has planned on 16 solar thermal power stations projects, a couple which their biggest one is listed as being a parabolic trough with a heat storage at 200 milliwatts.
So my portion was Portugal. Portugal runs at 50 hertz on 1 or 3 phase. Its nominal voltages are 220 or 380 volts. It has a population of 10 million as of July 2014. Its major industries are textiles, footwear, clothing, wood and cork, paper, chemicals, auto parts, and general manufacturing. Its installed hydropower capacity is 5.7 gigawatts, and its generation is 14.6 terawatts an hour as of 2013. The prime mover energy for the country is 12.6 hydroelectricity, 53% wind power, 4.1% renewable congregation, 0% geothermal, 5.73% other renewable resources, 2.1% urban waste, 11% fossil fuel, or 1.9% natural gas, 6.5% coal, 1.9% nuclear. Two construction projects going on right now are the Canedo Hydro Power Plant in Portugal, which is a mini electrical power plant on the Beca River. The power capacity planned for it is 10 megawatts, averaging 28 gigawatts an hour. As well, currently, they're expanding their giant solar plant farm. It currently has 2,520 giant solar panels. It's worth approximately $250 million, and it's expected to supply 45 megawatts a year.
Okay, we can all agree, all of our countries transmit at 50 hertz, 220 volt, 240 volt single phase, 400 volts approximately for 3 phase for industry. Everybody but Portugal uses a lot of natural gas as their prime mover source. Italy the most at 66% total. Italy being the highest for fossil fuels in general, coal, oil, natural gas, all make up close to 80% of their total power generation.
We all use, it's all hydroelectricity too, except for Portugal.
Portugal is really trying to get into renewables, so there's 12% or so of hydroelectric going on, but they're trying to stay a lot towards solar. They have one of the biggest solar farms in the world. And then they actually, in 2013 last year, they ended up with 53% of their prime mover energy coming from wind power.
Well, Spain wants to get all of their renewable from wind, because they have a plan of 92% of that.
From wind, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, Italy's, like I said, mostly fossil fuel still. They're starting to get into renewables. They're setting up 8 nuclear plants in the next 7 years. They currently don't have any nuclear plants. They shut down their nuclear plants after the whole Chernobyl thing.
Yeah, I think Croatia anyway shares a plant, but they, other than that, they really don't have any nuclear, hardly any renewable, just a little bit of wind, but I think that seems to be a common.
Most of Europe seems to be low for their nuclear. I know Portugal's only at 1.9% of nuclear power.
Well, that makes sense after the whole Chernobyl thing, right?
Hungary on the other side, they got 37% of their total power per year is nuclear, and they're going for 2 more. And from 2020, I believe, and 2025, they'll be up and running. So they're going for
That's-
mainly nuclear.
That's Italy's time frame. They want 25% nuclear.
Yeah.
Is it geothermal? Did that come up in anybody's?
I didn't see any.
I didn't have any.
None
It
in
might
my
have
country.
it might have been grouped into the renewable energies
Yeah.
for Italy. Like their total renewable was around 18.5%. So that probably would include geothermal if they have it, but I didn't read anything on it.
Spain had those parabolic troughs,
Yeah.
like the solar panels, but they're kind of like on an angle.
Mm.
And they're trying to get, there's one that's like 200 milliwatts, getting like 16 more of those.
So I'm stepping up on the thermal.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine was grouped with my hydroelectric, so it made up only 1.8% of my annual. So not a whole lot.
So, but generally it looks like everybody's trying to move towards renewable.
Well, I think there's a lot of pressure from like the European Union and everything to get off fossil fuels, right? The same sort of thing that North America had a few years ago. There was a lot of pressure to get off of it.
Everyone's trying to go green
Yeah,
as much as they can.
for sure.
Makes a lot of sense in the long run, because I know Portugal has to import all the fossil fuel. They don't have any of their own deposits of it. So all the money that they pay out every year to do that is something they're still going to have to do next year. But if they dish out all that money to put up wind turbines,
It's gonna
like,
last them.
that's going to pay itself off eventually.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, no.
The
And all our major industries are all.
Yeah, all the industries are
They're all pretty
essentially
much the same,
similar.
yeah.
They're all pretty based around consumerism and
yeah, they don't have any like major resources. It's all manufacturing mostly.
Yeah.
They don't have, you know, like mining and stuff like that.
Mining, fishing,
Yeah,
forestry.
there's none of that. It's all textiles and manufactured products that they're exporting.
other than Spain, Italy, there's not really much tourism going on in Hungary, Portugal.
Yeah, that's Italy's main industry is tourism,
Yeah.
which makes sense.
Whose country has the most demand for electricity?
That would be Italy.
Yeah, Italy does have.
Italy's got the highest population, right? Like
Yeah.
Italy and Spain are both really high up there, and then you get like Portugal and Hungary and Croatia that are like fractions of the sizes.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Italy's the biggest at 60 million people.
Yeah.
How's infrastructure? Because I know like 3 of you did large countries like Spain and Hungary and that, but for Portugal, they're still in their like formative years of putting together an electrical grid. And a lot of the times committees have like infighting and that, and all of a sudden people lose power just over the electrical boards fighting. So I was wondering, like Croatia, did anything like that? Like you run anything like that?
It seemed pretty well set up. Like it's all the electricity production and stuff's owned by like government-owned companies.
Right.
So it's all pretty it's pretty good infrastructure.
Yeah.
So I didn't see anything about anything conflict in that.
Yeah,
in that
Italy
way.
seemed to have some pretty solid infrastructure. I didn't read anything on any major issues or stuff like that. I'd imagine it's pretty government regulated considering their main industry is tourism. You
Yeah.
wouldn't want, tourists coming to stay and all of a sudden the power goes out in their hotel for 2 days while they're on vacation.
Yeah.
It would probably hurt the tourism, so I'd imagine it's pretty well regulated because of that.
Hungary's about the same, there's no major conflicts. So they do their thing.